Hello and welcome everyone to the Saitama VGCS Finals. So we have game 1 here between Miltae on the left playing Nightrose and Gungnir on the right also playing Nightrose. So it's a very popular deck in Japan, and I'm very also thankful to Kaiji, the organizer of the Saitama VGCS, for allowing me this opportunity to commentate Japanese tournaments. So obviously this is not my filming. I do apologize that there is no sound from the players, but you know, there's only so much we can do. So Gungnir opens up with a very aggressive start. So he's already got two attacks through, and there's two Tommy brothers in Miltae's damage zone already. So he rises into the Negro Lazy and calls out the Negro Bone. So he's gonna promote his starter as well, and we're gonna see a 9k to the Vanguard, and he's thinking if he wants to do that or not. Never mind, he's still gonna go with it. And he gets the new Nightrose into his hand, so we are playing with the new Rami Labyrinth support. We don't have it in English just yet, but it's coming very soon, so it's quite nice to see some new cards. And Gungnir drops the 10k stand to guard the other attack, so he's in a bit of a damage advantage. So he rises to grade 2, and he kills the starter manually, but he's gonna undo that. So let's see if he decides to call the Serpent. Yeah, he's going to call the Serpent regardless, but to a different column, so this way he's not really losing out on his aggressiveness. So he's going to kill the starter with his Serpent and then attack with the Vanguard to the Vanguard, and he's going to get himself a heal, but he won't be able to heal since he has less damage. So Miltae gets a crit in the damage zone, so that gives him more defensive power. But it wouldn't have mattered anyway because they both got triggers. So Miltae just drops the new Shade for 5k guard, and that's the end of Gungnir's turn. So just checking how many soul Gungnir has is just the 1 for now, but soul is a very important resource for Grand Blue players, so it's always good to keep in mind. So let's see if Miltae is going to ride to grade 3, and yes, he does ride the new Nightrose. So on Vanguard Circle I feel like she's not as good as the old Nightrose, but she does have a pretty nice GB2 that works in bigger circles well. So Miltae already got rid of the starter, he gets rid of the King Serpent, and he's going to go with Vanguard 11k on the 9k. And let's see if Gungnir is going to guard that, but I think okay, they're just checking resources, but no, he didn't guard that. There's a crit on Miltae's side, and the perfect shield, so that's 2 damage coming through, knocking Gungnir also to 3. So, looks like Miltae is going to pass on his turn, and it's going to be Gungnir's turn once again, and, well, we're pretty sure he will be riding to grade 3 as there's no point in stalling now. So he rides the older Nightrose, so I feel like, as I said, she is the better one to be starting off with. So let's see what he's going to stride into. Ooh, he doesn't have the stride fodder, he has to drop both Serpent and one of the new Shades in order to stride. So there's one of the new grade 1 Shades. It works off of being retired when you have a Nightrose Vanguard, and then you can call something that isn't a grade 1 from drop zone. At least I believe that's what the effect is. So he strides into Obadiah, allowing him to search his deck for 3 cards and put them in the drop zone, and then call out a Ghosty behind if he has one. But he has to have at least 2 hollow cards that are being sent for that to happen. So we already see 2 hollow cards going through here. So we have the Negro Lazy and the Night Storm, my bad. So let's see what his third card will be. I think he's checking both his resources and any combos he's going to be able to do later in the game. So for now he's taking the Rook. So let's see, that is a good choice. I think those 3 cards are going to be good because I don't think he has them available in his drop zone, and you know, considering that he didn't have a stride fodder just now, if he doesn't drive check any now and doesn't, you know, get anything to stride with later, he might actually have to play the game without stride. So it's good to have the backup grade 3 there as well, because it will open up quite a few combos. But for now it looks like he's still deciding if he wants to go with these 3 cards. He hasn't put his deck down yet for cutting, so technically he can still change the cards that he decides to take. So, you know, let's see if he still decides to change. He's kind of fidgeting about it, and he hasn't put his deck completely back. He's still considering, checking cards in his hand, checking what combos he can do, because obviously, you know, you don't want to be taking something else that might just seal off your victory by accident. So he's considering if the new Rook is worth it, but let's see what else he could take, because now they do have some of the newer cards that we don't have available yet, but I think regardless, Neo Rook is a solid choice, so let's see if he changes it with anything else. For now he's still considering, but you know, it's all basically going to come down to what he's going to do, especially next turn, because with Obadiah it's not as much aggression that you can do, but you know, you can still do a lot because it's just Grand Blue is Grand Blue, but you just don't have the extra stride to pull off more shenanigans. Nope, he's going to go with the rook, so I think this time he has decided what he's going to go for. And I do apologize for a bit of the camera shaking. Again, this is not my recording, and this is just the best quality that I could get from the provider. But, you know, I do wish I could be there to record, but unfortunately this does take place in Japan, where I currently am not. So, he's going to undo his Cannon Blast and, you know, just do the proper one. Calls out the Lazy and does get the power bonus. Now he's going to use the Lazy to Cannon Blast 1 and Soul Blast 1 to call out another unit. So let's see which one he decides to call out. So he does have quite a few things to choose from. So still considering, but it's going to be the King Serpent. So, or is he still going to decide on something else? No, I think he has chosen the King Serpent, but he's just keeping it open so that his resources are there. So he gets to activate the King Serpent skill to countercharge 1 and soul charge 1. Sadly, he soul charges the critical, although it's not too bad because, you know, he can get it back obviously after he soul blasts it and then uses skill once again. So that's one of the nice things, that even though that critical does get soul charge, it's not too bad, not too big of a deal essentially. So he's going to swing with the Lazy, or never mind, he's hesitating. He's going to go with the Serpent first on the Rook of Miltae. So let's see. They're checking numbers, but Miltae is going to let it pass. So goodbye to the Rook over there. And now the Negro Bone effect activates, and we get the Greed 3 out. And he's going to swing straight at Vanguard for some extra aggression. So, and Miltae is going to take that, pushing you up to 4 damage. And I'm not too sure what card that is, that one. I think that's one of the new starters that we're getting as a promo as well. Yeah, so that is one of the new starters. So let's see what he decides to do now. So Miltae is already on 4 damage. That does give him a lot of range for counterblast combos, so we'll see what he does with that next turn. But he's going to Perfect Guard the Obadiah. He drops a Perfect Guard for the Perfect Guard, which is quite, you know, sad to see. But, oh, Gungnir gets 2 Stride Fodders and the Perfect Guard, so that's very good for him. So he's checking once again the Nightrose Soul. There's 2 left, so, you know, it could obviously increase, but for now it's still at 2, and he's going to try to kill off the Bone in order to kind of lower the amount of combos he can do. But Miltae is going to G-Guard that because he does not want to lose the Bone, because it can open up so many combos for him, so it does make sense. So he's going to do the G-Guard from Fighter Selection, which also mills him a couple of cards as well. So that's overall good for him in terms of resources, and Gungnir is going to go to his end of turn. Goodbye to all his hollowed units, and also he gets to countercharge quite a bit as well, so that's quite nice. So moving on to Miltae's turn. He's now going to get to, well, essentially after he strides, he's going to get to show off the new Nightrose's on-stride skill, which, you know, we haven't talked about on the channel just yet. So let's see what he decides to stride into. He still has time to consider. And we can see there's a timer actually running there, which I believe is actually Gungnir's, but it's quite nice to see that. So he is going to stride, and let's see what he decides to go into. Okay, he's going to drop, I believe he dropped the old Nightrose for a stride cost, so there's just that. And he's going to go into Negro Sanger. So this is one of the new strides from Rummy Labyrinth. So it's a quite solid stride, honestly. So now he's going to use the new Nightrose's skill to basically mill 3 and call out a grade 1, I believe. I believe it does restrict it to grade 1, but I'm not too confident, as we don't... Okay, I guess it doesn't, but I wasn't too sure because we just haven't had the card yet in English, so... But Negro Sanger overall is a very, very good stride. It's an end of battle. You have to, I believe, counterblast 1, flip, well, Persona flip and discard 1 as well. And then he gets to call out a unit and it gets a plus 5k. So it's kind of similar to the Nightrose stride, but it's a bit lower cost. And, you know, the discard isn't that bad because that's another card in your drop zone that you can use later on. So in Grand Blue, it's obviously not that much of a bad thing. And because you only call 1 unit and you get the plus 5, it's overall very nice, especially that plus 5. So let's see what kind of attack pattern he decides to go with. So he's going to swing with the Ghosty first, straight at the Vanguard. I mean, there's not much else for him to attack into. And Gungnir is going to drop the Stride Fodder as his shield. So that's one less Stride Fodder that we're aware of in his hand for now. So let's see what he decides to go into next. So he did use the Negro Bones effect, so he's going to choose one of the cards from his drop zone. It's going to be the Rook, so he's going to be attacking with that, and now Gungnir is going to have to drop another shield for that, or he can obviously afford to take it, but Gungnir has to see his drop zone so he knows what kind of resources he has to deal with throughout this turn, so, you know, that's always a good thing. you know, the drop zone pretty much always has to be a public domain for Nightrose players because it's just essentially a second hand. So Gungnir is going to take that, and another Nightrose goes to his drop zone, so it's not the biggest loss. So he's going to attack with the grade 3, and so I believe because the new Nightrose does give a +3 buff, so it does call anything, but it also gives a +3 buff, so I believe that's 21. So Gungnir takes that and gets a heal, and he gets to use it, so that's quite good. He puts the Rook into the drop zone, so it's also important what he chooses to retire. So let's see what he decides to go for now. I believe, I'm not sure which effect, I'm a bit confused which effect that was just now, but oh no, my bad, that was the grade 3's effect. He just called out another attacker on, he has to call it on a different circle. So now Nightrose's effect activates, and he gets the stand, which is definitely quite nice for his combos, so that's going to allow him to do even more. He gives the power to the Nightrose, he gets a Serpent and a Rook. So now Nightrose's effect gets to activate, so it's Counterblast 1, and he Persona flips it, and now he still has to discard 1. So let's see what he decides to drop for it. Let's see. Although like he only has the hand that he got from the drive checks. I believe the Rook isn't a bad choice for dropping, but you know, we'll see. Yeah, he drops the Rook for the cost, so that's definitely not a bad one to drop. So let's see. I believe they're just checking the effect, since it is, you know, even though it has been some time since the card, it is still a fairly new card. So there, the Nightrose's effect does go off, and he calls out the new attacker instead of the grade 3, so that's quite nice for him. So he's overall getting quite a few attacks out there. So now there's this one with a Nightrose, which does have the trigger power, and Gungnir takes that one as well, so he's going to have a lot of counterblast to work with for next turn. So you can see Miltae is completely eating up his own counterblast in order to try and seal off this game, getting himself another Rook attack. So Gungnir's hand is thinning away because there's so many attacks coming his way, so he has to drop his second Stride Fodder from his hand to guard that attack, and he has to GR this one, which I believe is the last card in his hand. So if he doesn't top deck a Stride Fodder, at least, well, if Gungnir doesn't top deck a Stride Fodder next turn, then he won't be able to stride, but he does have the GB2 now thanks to this G-Guard, meaning he can still do a lot of good Nightrose combos, as long as, you know, he draws at least something that can start them off, because he will need an attacker in front of the Bone. So there's the Milt-i from Gungnir, so he gets a crit and a Nightrose down there. So I believe that marks the end of Miltae's turn, because there's not much else for him to do. Now the Hollow will take place at the end of turn, and he will be losing his units. So I believe there's a bit of discussion happening here, but unfortunately I can't really understand it, or well, it's not that I can't understand it, but there's just no audio coming from the video for me to understand. But yeah, so Miltae's turn ends, and now let's see what Gungnir top deck, because this top deck might actually determine the rest of the game. Because Miltae is very low on hand. I believe he only has 2 because he had to drop 1 for the cost of Nightrose's, because he was trying to seal out that game, because, you know, he was so aggressive in that turn, trying to just end it. So, you know, obviously it is quite a, well, exciting moment. But now I'm not too sure what exactly. I believe they're just checking out the combo resources, in a sense, that are in Gungnir's drop zone. So essentially all the units that can happen, and I believe that, you know, because Gungnir, you know, he did get the Stride Fodder, but he didn't stride. He just called it out to have the attack, and now he can use the Bone to call out another, essentially to call out the grade 3. The grade 3 can call out another attacker, and then, well, the grade 3 can call out a Lazy, and then the Lazy can call out something else, because he has that much counterblast to work with. And when anything would end up dying, Gungnir can just use Nightrose's GB2 to revive it. So this is a huge combo that we're going to be looking at, and it could possibly mean the end of the game, because Miltae doesn't have that much hand to deal with such a, you know, rush of attacks. So I think Gungnir's play of calling the Stride Fodder and just unleashing this barrage of attacks because of that is definitely a very smart play. So there's, again, some more discussion happening that, you know, we can't hear because there's no audio, so it's a bit unfortunate, but, you know, it does matter a lot because this is a high-stakes tournament, and, you know, they're the last 2 players remaining. This is the finals, after all, and it is a best of 3. I did not mention that at the start, but I did say this is game 1. So we'll be seeing the best of 3. I'll be uploading them 1 per week, so we'll be seeing the first one this week, and the next one next week, and then if there's a third game, then you're going to see that the week after. So Miltae takes the first damage and he goes up to 5, and there's another Stride Fodder going to his damage zone. So that's already the third one in the damage zone. He has one on the field, so that's him out of them basically. So he calls out the grade 3, and he's gonna do the GB2 immediately to call out the Stride Fodder to have a boosting power for later on. So Miltae is left with his very few cards in hand. So he's just showing off his drop zone as a public, you know, also just to check for heals, because that will become important in just a moment. You know, if he can't protect against all these oncoming attacks, which, you know, with such a scarce hand, I really do not think it will be possible. But, you know, let's keep on watching and see what happens. So this is a big combo turn for him, definitely a very big one. And there we go, that's the last damage for the game. So Gungnir takes game 1, and we'll be going to game 2 of Miltae versus Gungnir in the Saitama VGCS Finals. I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.